Hey everyone, this is Cindy. It is February 20th, 2025. And this is a meeting in an open door. It's the meeting that we have entitled Finding Truth Everywhere. And oh, I just got emotional. Well, I imagine you can hear it even if you're listening to the replay. But if you're here in the room, if you slow yourself down, can you feel the energy of this space? It feels sacred to me anyway, and it just sort of washed over me. Got a little choked up. Anyway, this is the hour where we come together after spending time with a teacher from any number of traditions, science and religion and spirituality and whatever else that means. And next week, we're going to be listening to a medical doctor, which is pretty cool. Um, and then we come together and we talk about the truth, what's the same. And typically, what I do is I begin these meetings with a song. I couldn't find the song. It was interesting. I sat and waited for the song. This morning, I realized what we were going to do was spend 6 minutes with my all-time favorite go-to Mooji clip. I've been watching this clip for more years, as long as I've been on this path. I have no idea who introduced it to me for the first time. Um, but it's about 6 minutes. And then there are a few things that I want to say about my experience with this particular podcast, and then we'll open it up and see what happens. So I'm going to still put it on pause, Barbie. So you'll remind me to turn it back on. And here we go. I got to tell you, until maybe the last year, I never noticed the bliss on that boy's face. It was all just about the laughter. And somehow the last couple of times I've watched that clip, there was something about the look on his face that just breaks my heart open. So thank you for watching that. So there are a couple of things that I wanted to point out, and then we'll open it up. The first thing is how I watched this podcast. I ended up watching it 3 times, watching slash listening. The first time, with this idea that I've spent a lot of time with Mooji over the years, and that he wasn't going to give me anything new or whatever. I just needed to pull out tidbits for our meeting. I watched it while I was cleaning my kitchen and then preparing a meal, and it was very pleasant. It was just very pleasant. And I got to the part towards the end where he started talking about resistance, and something like hit me like a lightning bolt. And and I realized that my not being willing to take an hour to just be in satsang with Mooji, just be with Mooji for an hour, was a form of resistance. So then I was guided and I sat a second time with the decision to sit with Mooji and not take any notes, which was uncomfortable as this was the recording for this podcast. But, when you just sit with the energy of a teacher who's holding a certain vibration and you're not taking notes, there's less of an opportunity for you to activate the intellect, right? Um, and I had an extraordinary experience. And then I listened again with notes. And that was also an extraordinary experience. All 3 times that I spent with Mooji, I'm not going to I'm not going to say one was better than the other and we should always do things. But I am going to tell you that the experience was different each time. My response to it was different. I absorbed different information and I was blessed differently. And that was very valuable. Um, So, there's a part of me, even within the open door and all these different meetings and places, there's a part of this mind that wants to hop from one teacher, one podcast to another, boom, boom, boom. And Mooji was talking about it, it just sort of sits on the surface and it tickles the intellect, which can be useful. But when I just sat in the energy, um, without engaging the intellectual mind, which is actually what he was asking the people in the room to do, it was an entirely different experience that I can't I'm not going to attempt to create a story about it. I just wanted to say that out loud, um, because at least for me, somehow, the personality always thinks there's something better to do, or I'll listen to this while I'm taking a walk, or I'll listen to this when I'm cleaning the house, or like wanting to put these different activities together. Um, and every once in a while, I just want to invite you to just stop. And not just when we're in these meetings, just stop and be with someone to be a high vibrational space and just be in their space and let something happen. So that was the first thing I wanted to say. Second, my life is an expression of higher consciousness, of pure love. And the opportunity here for me, for us, is to discover this more completely. Is that not like I didn't hear that until the third time I listened? It's like right at the end. And I'm going to say it again because I didn't say it completely. The quote is, my life is an expression of higher consciousness, of pure love, and the opportunity here for me, for us, for you, is to discover this more completely to our complete joy and peace. Is that not a beautiful invitation? And from that, what I have here is number two that I wanted to speak into this meeting is that knowing the true self is beyond the mind, it's beyond the intellect. There's a period there. So whenever we hear the intellect telling us what it is, we can just know that it's a distortion, it's not true. Our true self is beyond the mind, it's beyond the intellect. And the requirement, which is it was very much what Francis taught me last week or the week before, whenever we did Francis, and what Mooji was pointing to in his own words, is this is something you got to discover for yourself. There is no outside teacher that is going to introduce you to your higher self. This is what inquiry is about. Now, Francis had one way of doing inquiry. Mooji was inviting everyone to continually look for what doesn't change and to accept that that the intellect, the mind, the person keeps changing. He was saying not stable. He was saying kind of sick. And he was inviting you to step back into the witness that doesn't change. What sees the change? And I've heard Rupert and others, and I can't give you the exact quotes, but I've heard other teachers talk about just the basic, just accept logically. If you're recognizing that you're in a change, that your life is changing, that your being is changing, that has to come from something that's outside the change. Otherwise, you'd just be in the way. You wouldn't notice that who you are is changing. Number three, not attaching to phenomena. A lot of us on the path, and I've gone in and out of this, are looking for the big bang moment. And I've got Mooji in my space reminding me that that's just something else that changes. And I know the Buddha was on that. So I just wanted to say that out loud. He said, knowing who you are, being your true self is natural. We're not talking about anything special. We're talking about what's natural. And so if you get the big bang moments, enjoy them. Just don't say that's what it is. That's clinging. Number 4, and this is a big part of Joel Goldsmith's teachings. Keep it a secret. I've had quite a few teachers talk about this, right? And it's an interesting thing. But if you're in your inquiry and you're getting these awarenesses that there's something outside of yourself, and then you want to tell others about it, and then they either poo-poo it or they make you whatever they do, it's an ego talking to ego experience. Joel Goldsmith has invited his students to just keep doing the work, keep practicing the presence over and over and over and over and over again till you become it. And then the sharing of it is natural. It's not about sharing with others. It is the natural unfoldment of what occurs. And he was talking about that. He's like, it's like if you meet the Buddha on the road, kill it. Because it's not us learning something new, it's us becoming who we are. So the moment we call it special, it ain't it. And talking about it feeds the sense of separation, not dissolves it. Number 5, which is the last thing well, the true self, by the way, not boring. I don't know. I've heard people talk about it here. I think Ron is smiling because I've heard that. I've had this conversation with myself and with others, like, why do I want to let go of the drama of the personality self? Everything about the idea of just being in the flow sounds boring. It's not. And he made that clear. It's beautiful and it's wonderful and it's natural. He kept using that word natural. And the last thing, and I do have pages of notes, I always do, but the last thing I wanted to say before I open up this conversation to whatever happens, his verbiage was, what is untrue in you will resist when the truth touches it. And I don't know, I've felt that resistance in many, many ways. He said, you might be getting really tired right about now and want to go take a nap. Or all of a sudden, all you want to do is go eat or take a walk, anything but sit, which is when I heard that the first time when I was going about doing the business, my cleaning the apartment and cooking and whatever while I was listening, when I heard this part, I really had to sit. And I recognized that I have no problem sitting down and watching a 2-hour movie, but something in here doesn't think that it's useful to sit and just be with Mooji for an hour. And I knew right away that was resistance, you know? And so I sat and I watched, I witnessed the experience of the small self sitting in the energy for an hour. It was extraordinary. And resistance happens. And he invited me anyway when the resistance hits. And if you ever get involved in the diet experience, there's no one else here that does diets, but if you go to a diet intensives, resistance comes up really big. Some people get massive migraines in the middle of it, or they literally get the flu, or they're in the bathroom throwing up. Like resistant, the mind can do amazing things to the body, amazing things if it doesn't want you to see what's there from a physical standpoint. And if you're with a good enlightenment master, they let you go throw up, and then they tell you to sit back down in the chair because we're exhausted. You're exhausting that part, and then the resistance just stops, and something else is waiting for you. what all of this has helped me with is the understanding. So much of my time has been being really present with the pain or the fear or the anger, and all of those things can come up. But somehow I recognize now that if that's resistance, Mooji's inviting us not to stay focused on it, but to sink back and say there's something here that's watching this resistance that isn't being affected, that is simply still at peace. And can I know that while the resistance is happening? And again, this isn't a one off, this is a practice. And again, this isn't a practice just for when you're sitting on the meditation pillow for 20 minutes. This is a practice that you can use 24/7 as you develop it, as you practice whenever you remember. What is here that isn't being affected? What is here that is holding the space to allow this experience to unfold? And Mooji, and people know him, Mooji can get angry. He said, if you're angry, be angry, but also stay aware of what is holding the space. If you love the cheesecake, eat the cheesecake, but don't get clinging to it and insist that you're going to love it forever, because someday you won't, because the person is unstable, is forever changing. And why do you want to identify with something that is impermanent and changing? What doesn't change is here now. So those are the things that I wanted to say into this space. Now I would love to hear whatever's next. With all these different voices, we have so many voices. And Nadego, I'm just highlighting the fact that, man, my heart smiles that you're here with us. Is there anything you want to share? We'd love to know how your body's doing.
Just love being here. And then I'm actually going to therapy later today. So I start the it's for 2 weeks. So, and I'm just letting God guide me. Whatever is happening is perfect. And I love being here. And I
And
love all of you so much. So it's just such a gift.
thank you, sweetheart. Okay, so what is it you'd like to share or speak or ask or anything else? Rana.
Hello, everyone. I'm grateful to be here. I really enjoyed listening to Mooji. It had been a minute and it was very clear, and so simple. And the video that you played at the beginning, I was enamored with that beautiful shot that they had of the two, of Ramana and his profile. And I'm glad that the video went back to that a couple of times, because that was mesmerizing to me in that moment. And, Raman is kind of my boyfriend, and I haven't been hanging out with him that much lately, but it'll come back. I'm going to start at the bottom of my notes and jump off what Cindy was just talking about likes and dislikes. It really struck me when he said, we can try for the best idea of me, make a better Rana, the job, the husband, the house, the wife, the kids, the Gucci bag or whatever. And then when I get it, I'll naturally want something different. Naturally want it. And it's reminding me of the Tao, I'm swinging in one way. Well, there's going to be a point where I naturally swing in the other. Don't be too shocked. Because like I was discovering yesterday, the gratitude to know that this ego, this personal identity is transient. It changes all the time. How interesting is that? So, what I had was a clear seeing that, I'll naturally want something different, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's okay to like green beans when you're a kid and not like them anymore. It's just what's happening. And he says to just watch that and its influence over this will weaken the more I notice. You know, he talked about these feelings and reactions of the false self become distant in the desert, you know, and I liken that to, you know, my behavior has certainly changed over the years. I'm not as explosive as I used to be, but sometimes the thought will still be there, you know, and I was under the impression that, you know, that I'm not doing it right because I'm still thinking that way, you know, and this is just pointing to, no, just, you know, drop the form. This is a field of being, of things going on, and that's just what's arising right now. Don't take yourself so darn seriously, you know. This has been coming up the last few days, and I heard Mooji say it too. Realize where you're looking from, not what you're looking at. You know, if I'm upset by what I see, then I'm probably caught up in the drama. I'm probably in that forgetting again of what I truly am. And I can pause and just anchor for just a second, you know, and have that shift occur. He said happiness is to be content, and to be content is to be still. And so all kinds of stuff can be going on here, you know. As you started that Mooji video, I heard the famous sound of the cat getting ready to yak. And I was just like, oh my God, no. So I just stayed with the video and the laughing, right? And so I started to laugh. And when I got up to clean it up, she had thrown up right back in the bowl. So it was just like, and I was laughing so hard, you know, just none of it. Everything is perfect, just the way it's going. You know, it's so much about this attitude that the ego tries to press down, like it should be serious. There should be a problem. I like the phrase that he used, complete happy. He didn't say completely happy. He said complete happy. And there's something that really rings for me there. And, you know, I don't stay in this beautiful natural silence every moment of the day, but the knowing that it's available and the fact that I have tasted it, and I know that there is something that watches that isn't, you know, that is me. It's so extraordinary. So I came away, you know, with 3 questions was what never changes, what is watching, and for whom are these thoughts arising? Because that third question is always like, oh yeah, they're just thoughts. So I'm really grateful to be here, and I enjoyed the experience with the video and looking forward to hearing everybody else. Thanks.
Thank you. Sandra.
Oh, good morning. Thank you, everybody. So I want to be like Ningdago. So happy to be here. I love Mooji as one of my early teachers, and every time in his presence something happens. I love what you said to begin this, Cindy. And I was thinking, what I wanted to respond to that first of all is that when I come here, no matter who's teaching, no matter which day of the week it is, with which topic, I recognize that what I am responding to most of all is the vibrational field more than the words that are being said. And they don't have to be said from the teacher. It can be from one of you or all of you together. And that's what happens in this space for me. And then I recognize as I observe that a large part of it, or maybe all of it, is what I bring to it. It's how I come in and receive the love, and how I come in and receive the teachings, not looking like I used to look. I would always find the hole in any argument. My parents, everybody else said, you should have been an attorney, but I could find the hole in any argument. But now I simply disregard anything that doesn't land, and it just am open and teachable to whatever is said, so that I'm vibrating at a higher level, and that's why I'm receiving so much. Trying to re-explain what you already explained so well with how you entered with Mooji, but that happens to me here. And so there are a couple of things that I was grateful that he reminded me of. So I'll mention them while I'm speaking. The first was, he did take one little, all the things that you mentioned, yeah. And then he took this one moment, and I had never heard him do this before. He said, where is it? You are that which perceives it. And he talked about being the observer, and he talked about, first, you're conscious of the mind, you're conscious of the person, you're even conscious of being conscious. And then he goes, so what was his question? How do you recognize it? Because I've often longed to hear other people speak to this, and they don't usually. They go, oh, it's unspeakable. There are no words, but he did give words to it, and I loved them. He said, it's a natural feeling of well-being, a natural feeling of joy, and we saw that in the laughter. It's beyond the field of opposites, and you will not feel overloaded, even though you think you might. You will not feel overloaded. And I just love that he described that for me. And it resonated with me because, as he said, people will think you're crazy if you talk about it. I've had that experience. But to hear someone else speak of it, just, I don't know, it felt cozy. That's the word, cozy. The other thing that really I loved that I had not heard before was when he was reading from his little book. I don't know what that book is, but he always reads something really cool out of there. And he was reading about the opposites. And I was just so amazed by that. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, about being free. I am not only free, but I am free of freedom. I'm free of liberation. So I'm not only free, but I'm free of liberation. I'm not only free of desire, but I'm free of desirelessness. I'm not only free of bondage, but I'm even free of freedom. I'm not only free of separation, I'm free of union. And at first the mind wanted to get in there and go, what? But as I just, like you said, sat with him, it just kind of absorbed it. And then he says, I am freedom itself. Isn't that, I mean, I found those words to be amazing and penetrating. And I'm everything like space. So the mind did come in and try to say something about that. And what I came up with is, the reason I'm free of liberation is I'm not trying for it anymore. I'm free of desirelessness because I have everything I could possibly ever want or need. And even I can still like things, as he said, I can still like chocolate, but I don't need to yearn for anything. I have everything. I am everything. And if I'm everywhere, where is there to go? I am freedom itself. It's just, oh, and he said, I'm the embodiment of peace and love and joy right here in this body. He said all these things into my heart. He spoke them into my heart from his being to my being. And the word grateful almost sounds inadequate right now. I want to say I'm grateful, but it feels inadequate. So I am overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed with the love of each of you and the love of all of you here and now. And I thank you for that.
Couple of things that came up while I was listening to you. One, when he was talking about the opposites, it brings me back to this this recognition. I think I'm going to have to mute you, maybe, Sandra,
Okay.
getting an echo. Um, when was the last time you sat there wanting air to breathe? That's what it makes me feel like. This search for freedom, or this, I am liberated. It's the same thing as being really focused on having air to breathe. We just have the air to breathe. We just are that. We are breathing and moving, and there isn't any thought around it. It just is. Unless, of course, we're in the experience where it's being deprived. But as we move in our space right now, I'm not sitting here thinking about being grateful for, searching for the air to keep this. It's just happening. And so the idea of freedom versus bondage, they're concepts. And it comes from a sense of not. The other is he makes me laugh a lot, which breaks holes when he says, this idea of I'm everywhere like space. And he really lit up what my mind, and I've watched other minds do with a statement like that. He says, no, 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 it's not a metaphor. It's not just pretty words. If you're not getting it, I wrote these words down there. Sometimes he speaks these things and I have to sit. If you're not sitting and recognizing it, you have captured yourself in the shape of the person you thought yourself to be. So capturing from the standpoint of the person you thought yourself to be, you're not everywhere. You're held within the shape of the person these are the words he used. You have captured yourself in the shape of the person you thought yourself to be. So from that standpoint, perhaps this idea of I'm everywhere like faith, space is a metaphor. But if you're in the knowing of the awareness of the one that doesn't change, you're everywhere like space. And the intellect doesn't. And then it was at the same point, and I'll leave it, and then I'll hand it to Mel. This idea that I've been looking at, the body doesn't know me. I love that too. Body doesn't know me. It's not who I am. Body doesn't know what's looking through its eyes. It's a cool thing to just recognize.
May I add something to what you just said? I love that he said, don't try to be everywhere, because some of the teachers have tried to get you, don't feel the edges of your body, you don't try to be everywhere because you are in the form. Just know that you're everywhere. So I liked that.
All right, Mel, the floor is yours.
Oh, thanks. Thank you so much. So cool to be here. And I agree all with all of you that, it's kind of the energy. He brings some just wonderful, kind, gentle energy. I don't know. So I really picked up on that. And also it was entitled, I think, Be at Peace, even if with a chaotic mind or something like that. And that was so helpful. I went back to that so many times because I noticed getting triggered with the politics right now. We all can relate to that. And then stepping back and see, I can be at peace. And I can see my mind just going, coming back, these thoughts of anger, these thoughts of frustration. And then I can be at peace. So it really helped me to step back and recognize that I'm that openness and can allow that to just kind of pass on through. So that was so helpful. And I love the sound of the birds. I just loved it because it was dark and cold and I heard these birds. And at first I thought I looked all around and then I said, oh, the birds. That was so cool. I love the little birds. And finally, you've all mentioned so many wonderful messages that he expressed. But the one that actually just stood out for me was be the evidence of God in the world. And that really struck me, and I never heard anyone say it that way, but just be that divine presence that we are in the world and how important that is, what a difference that makes. So they were my key points.
Yeah, you highlighted something else that was in my notes, and so many of the teachers that are lighting me up, the guides, are spending a lot of time with Paul Seligman and the guides, and at some point, I'm still sitting, it's a couple $100 a month to be with them, so how do I bring that to the open door? And I haven't quite seen it yet. But they are communicating a very similar message. And actually, when Paul channels, he lives on the edge of a rainforest in Hawaii, and the door is often open. And he has a very aged dog. He has two dogs. One was his mother's, who's blind, and every once in a while, in the middle of the channeling, he has to get up because this old blind dog will leave the room and forget how to get back, and he has to get up and breathe. But you can hear the birds and the world through the doors. Mooji said, this is not about you doing anything. It's about being, right? So be wary of this idea that you're now special because he's like people come to me and say, I got it, Gudri, I got it. Give me a certificate. I want to go teach it. And he's like, fuck no. Go away. I'm not talking to you. And the guides are stating quite clearly that the work that they're doing is about helping the individual here lift their energy up above the field of fear. So now you get to be a channel for an energy flow without fear. And actually, the channeling they did last night, which is I'm still living in, because they then say, and a lot of people in this room might really like this, and then you're of service. And it doesn't necessarily mean you're sitting on the couch. We are being called to be the flow of that in the world, and you'll know what your role is. But mostly what you're doing is becoming the channel that allows an energy that has no fear to flow into the collective, which is filled with fear. And I kind of heard that in Mooji's share that was created 2 years ago, too. Our responsibility really is to, as best we can, learn how to hold this space. And by holding this space and sharing it with what we see, we change what we see. Anyway, that's what came up while I was listening to your share. Do you think William's going to talk next? Because I do. But I'm just maybe making it up, but.
Oh, you were right. I just want to share something that was, I thought, profound yesterday. In talking with my nephew, whom I've spent many hours in Zoom in a space of quiet and love and so forth. And even as I observe myself and so forth, it's just what I'm used to. But yesterday, it was like we both were looking at our screen, metaphor of consciousness. We both had such different movies on that screen. My movie was of what I've heard over and over from the sources of information. His movie was what he's heard. So diametrically opposite each other. But while we're watching that, the left versus the right, which is what we've been listened to and been believing, just thoughts, just thoughts. At the same time, we're connected. And at one point, we were quiet for 20 minutes, just being in the silence with each other. It was, I just thought, wow, because really, the truth is here, and the movies were over here. And we were both looking at these two movies almost simultaneously. Everything he was saying, I've heard over and over with the right. Everything I was looking the left. So what you're saying is that it's just so simple when I am, I know, I'm now, it's now, it's now, it's now. And when I read Sao Po more and more, it's free, I'm free, the freedom now, 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 now. And yet we were both so connected in this space of loving each other. We've spent hours in Zooming over the past 2, 3 years. And then such as clear that we're just watching these two movies and there's no arguing about them. They're just, oh yes, understand. Of course, of course, of course. So very profound. So, and Cindy, I don't know. Again, I love what somebody said. It doesn't matter what the words were saying here. I just feel this space of now, now, now. So
Thank you. And I love the way you said it. I am here now. That's something that's been a big part of my current contemplation is I've recognized that until recently, the focus is on being here now. And lately, the focus has become being me here now, highlighting that word me. Um, and it allows the full integration of whatever is moving through as opposed to dissociating, you know, without speaking about it further. But that word me has become much more important for me to notice. It's me here now, not just
and,
here and now.
and what I notice is the two words knowing and now, they just kind of dissolve into each other. Knowing, truth, now, here, now is all that. They're just some letters in that. It's all those letters just kind of.
Well, of course, Miracles teaches us that words are just, what is it, Chuck? I've heard you say it's symbols upon symbols. And I've learned that they're literally just energy carriers, right? Hey, David, it's all yours.
Hey, thank you. So much to talk about. I guess I'm going to have to ramble. Anyway, the first thing was I remember who was talking about vibrations. I think it was Sandra. And when I get to the meeting and it fires up, and there's a vibration, it's pretty obvious, and it's almost like I could just sit there and be, in whatever mood I came in and just, you know, let it all pass by. But if I want to be involved, it's up to me to get my vibrations up to the level of what's going on in the room to be able to be part of it. And it's like, and it's something I want to do that because why wouldn't I? I mean, this is the good stuff. So if I want the good stuff, I know what I need to do, and to me that's what that's how I want it. want to live my life. I mean, if I want the good stuff in life, I have to get up there and vibrate into the level of vibration that I can be part of the good stuff, or I can generate the good stuff, or I can hook onto other people's good stuff and match, and we can match up. I have to match up to get the good stuff, and I think that's okay, what, because I've been kind of in the dumper the last 2 or 3 days, and now, and I'm coming out of it today. And one of the reasons why I'm coming out of it is because I know what I need to do to get out of it. And it's like, oh, why don't I just do that and see how that works? And another thing I was listening to was Sandra talking about about being grateful, and maybe that doesn't mean as much as it might have. And one of the things I thought about it is in me being grateful, because I always take, of course, take everything to me is maybe I have been being grateful for the wrong stuff. And maybe the stuff that I thought I was grateful for didn't deserve my gratitude. And I need to figure out what it is I really am grateful for and be grateful for that rather than just like more stuff or more things or more of this or more of that and more outside stuff. And so, but and like when I'm in this group and we're all vibrating and we're all tuned in and we're all on a roll, that's inside me. That's not outside anymore. It may be outside when I come into the group, but it's inside while I'm here. And it's when I leave, when I'm no longer in the group, I'm taking it with me because I'm not I'm gonna grab all I can and take it with me when I go out, when the meeting is over, and just enjoy and love all that I have experienced and keep on keeping on experiencing it. So that's my speech for today. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. I got a message from Rana to play a closing song and what it is, so I have it set up whenever we're ready. But there are some people that typically share that haven't, so I'm wondering if anybody else wants to share. Please, Patricia.
Good morning, everyone. It's morning here. Um, First of all, it is such a pleasure to be here. It touches my heart, and it does every time I'm here. But I think one of the things that I come away with continually is coming back to the moment over and over again. And it's that practice of coming back to the moment, because that's it. That is it. That's all I wanted to say.
What else? I've got a purring kitty like pressing into my heart, so very much in the hear me now. Livy.
Oh, excuse me. Hey, everybody. Hey, y'all. Just wanted to do like we do in our meetings and just claim my seat this morning and just say that I love y'all, all y'all, and I love us so much. And I just love the conversation. Thanks so much. And Dago, keeping you in my prayers and sending a big old heart, very soft and gentle, heartfelt hug.
Livy, seconds before you came on, I was thinking, I wish Livy would come on and tell us she loves y'all, and you did. So
Now start thinking about $500 million and maybe you'll get it.
well, that would be kind of a comparable thing, is to listen to you say, "I love y'all."
Oh, thank you, David.
Barbie, do you love us all too?
Love you all too. I have nothing to share, just that I'm sitting here with all your sharings and I'm just marinating in it. And there's nothing else to say because everything was said. And Dago, you're in my heart too, so you always do the right thing, so I don't have to tell you what to do. Love you all.
Love us. Right.
I have one other thing that I wanted to ask. Is it possible to get each other's contact information?
Well, there is a future plan I'm waiting for the board members to begin this, and they actually haven't yet. We're going to create a community page on the website. So anyone who wants to, I'm gonna start asking people as soon as the board members give me theirs, to give me a picture and a couple pages of who they are and whatever contact information, like an email, they're willing to share on the site. And that way, anyone who wants to be contacted and connect that way, that will
Okay,
be
and
one
you're
way to
talking
do it.
about an open door.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, other than that, from a legal and morals and whatever standpoint, you could always send somebody a private message and say, hey, I want to reach out. Do you mind here's my email address. You could always do that. But yeah, there's that too. All right. Anybody else want to say anything, or shall I just play this song? This is from Rana. Rana's share. Not that I'm not claiming it. It's perfect. Here we go. I'm going to stop the recording now.